Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. As you know, on my channel, I focus on Chinese medicine and integrating Chinese medicine into your everyday life. So part of that is understanding what they mean when they're talking about Chinese medicine. One of the biggest issues I found when I was going to school is they use a lot of analogies. And growing up here in the West, I basically didn't understand them. So one of the one of the concepts that I want to talk to today is about the kidney channel and the concept of self. So in Chinese medicine, we have 12 channels, and six of those are yin, and six of those are yang channels. And the yin channels have some um, pretty interesting functions in the body. And the kidney, when you go to school for traditional Chinese medicine, you learn that the kidney channel is the root of everything, is the root of your foundation, that you need kidney energy to reproduce, to grow, and that you have two kidneys. One represents what you were given, what you came into this world with, and one represents here and now, and or postnatal natal energies. And then between these two, you have this Mingmen fire, which is the gate of life, and the fire which ignites a soul. And in general, that's pretty much what you learn about the kidney channel. Well, that's nice and it's helpful, and it definitely helped me out when I was first starting in Chinese medicine. But after you go to school, you get to do whatever you want to do. And for me, I spend a lot of time going back into ancient texts, and I don't read ancient Chinese, so I always have to read translations, and that kind of bums me out. I really wish I could read ancient Chinese, but I can't. So either way, this past week, I've been spending some time reading a translation of Ho Sheng Kong's translation of Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. And so let's talk about the Tao Te Ching for just a couple seconds. So in general, the philosophy is that the Tao Te Ching was for the upper hierarchy. It was to help them understand how to manage and govern people. And so it really wasn't about, how to manage our lives, although that's what we use it for today. It was really to help you if you were going to be a ruler, or if you were a ruler, how to best rule your people. And so Ho Sheng Kong, they don't really know when he lived, and he was a mystic, and they call him the Riverside Elder. And like all mystics of that time, they have a tendency to avoid people and spend time within themselves and with their own thoughts. And that's pretty much what he did too. And so the thought is they don't really know when he was alive and walking this earth, but they think that it was, anywhere from 160 AD to, well, no, maybe about 0 AD to, or 1 AD to about 160 AD. And he had what he did was, well, I don't know if he was a founder of some of the key Taoist sects, but I do know that after him, they used his interpretations a lot. And when I was reading through it, I ran across this key statement, or these key statements, and I want to read these because I want to read this. This isn't technically from Ocean Kong's translations. It's from a book that is The Great One Who Gave Birth to Water. And this talks about the start of everything. And in Taoism, it talks about how Taoism sees the creation of Earth. Now, one of the things that's interesting about Taoism is it's considered a philosophy in general, not necessarily a religion. And what's interesting about that is in the reading that I've done, I've only run into one person who's indicated that Taoism was a religion, and the person was learned and studied Chinese, ancient China, and so was a valid reference, but I've only run into one person. Anyways, so let's look at this here. This is from and excuse my accent because oh my gosh, I cannot for the life of me hear a tone for trying. So, my sister was amazing. She was amazing with languages, and she spoke Chinese, and she spoke Chinese well. And it always amazed me. She spoke Chinese, she spoke French. She could pick up languages at the drop of a hat, where for me, picking up a language is, oh my gosh, a tour de force. I mean, I can just barely get through it, could just barely get through my requirements for graduating college. And so, I was always really amazed and impressed at how well my sister could pick up languages. And, speaking with other Chinese, they would always be amazed because she spoke really well. Anyways, I'm going to try this. And so, I'm going to butcher it. But, let's just roll with this, okay? We know that what it really means is the Great One gave birth to water, and it's the Hai Sheng Shui. And so this is what the translation states, and I have to read it. So, okay. The Great One gave birth to water. Water then returned to meet the Great One and thereby fashioned heaven. Heaven returned to meet the Great One and thereby fashioned earth. Heaven and earth joined together and then thereby fashioned spirit and illumination. Spirit and illumination joined together and thereby fashioned yin and yang. Yin and yang joined together and thereby fashioned the 4 seasons. The 4 seasons joined together and thereby fashioned cold and hot. Cold and hot joined together and thereby fashioned moisture and dryness. Moisture and dryness joined together, thereby fashioning the year and then stopped. Thus, the Great One is found in water. It moves through the seasons, contemplates a cycle, and then begins again. Thus, the Great One is the mother of the myriad things. At once diminishing, at once filling, it uses itself as the thread joining all things. This is what heaven cannot kill, what earth cannot bury, and what yin and yang cannot fashion. Those of noble character who understand this we call sages. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so sounds like a lot of words. So, but for me, it was really interesting when I read that. Suddenly, something became really, really weird, real for me in Chinese medicine, and one of the things that I've noticed with Chinese medicine is it really is a medicine that you have to practice over and over and over again, and really think about it as you're practicing it. And as you're practicing it, suddenly what people have said to you, suddenly it makes all the sense in the world. So, in traditional Chinese medicine, the textbook says, the kidney is the foundation of life. It's our foundation of life. And it represents true self. And so this was what was amazing to me, is the concept of true self. Now, when I'm working in clinic, usually the last aspect of dealing with emotions is really dealing with true self. I mean, you can do a lot. You can break your patterns. You can release the energy that's trapped inside you. You can completely change how you think. And just going through that in and of itself is more than enough for almost everyone. And yet you can go beyond that and you can talk to the true self. Now, I didn't I didn't really understand how deep that concept was because what I read in Chinese medicine is, wow, it's the foundation, it's what's necessary for growth. It really deals with hormones, it deals with bones. Nothing about what they really meant by true self. So what I like about that quote is, it talks about water's first, and kidney energy in Chinese medicine in 5 elements is represented by water. So, just the concept of being first in 5 elements, you don't really talk about what's first, second, third, because everything has equal weight. Yet here in this statement, it tells you how incredibly important water is because it was the beginning and it's the end, and it is what created everything. And the reality is without water on this planet, we would never have existed. And I know you can say, well, without oxygen, we wouldn't either. But let's not get too deep here. Without water, nothing would exist right now. So I didn't really understand how deep the concept of water was in Chinese medicine. I didn't really understand that it was the first. It was more than the foundation. It was the spark for life. From the Tao, first came water, and then came heaven, and then came earth. So I just didn't understand how deep that was, because I can tell you, I haven't read anything about, fire was second, or metal was third, or earth was, well, we see that earth is fourth, because then we have heaven, and then we have earth. But water was the first. And so now I started realizing how incredibly deep the concept of self is, how it's beyond being fundamental to our identity. It is, I can't even explain it. It is like this base reality. And why I wanted to talk about this was, you probably have noticed, for those of you who have been working through, really breaking through how you see the world and the stories that you tell yourself and the stories that you tell about the world. When you're coming through a breakthrough, when you're getting ready, when your mental attitude is getting ready to shift, is getting ready to let go of whatever that belief pattern is, there's this fear that comes up, this incredible amount of stress and this drama that comes up within you. And it's, either you can stop right then and back up because of the fear, or you can just push through. And I always wondered about that. I always wondered why is there so much fear when we're about to make a major breakthrough, when we're about to change how we see the world and make a major mental shift. Why do we become so stressed, so fearful, so anxious? And it was when I was reading this, I suddenly realized why that is. And I suddenly realized that the kidney energy, water, our sense of self goes actually deeper than what is considered 5 elements. It goes beyond our spark of life. It was there before the spark of life. It is our internal belief about ourselves. And what happens when you change that? Do you lose yourself? Do you realize suddenly that you were wrong your whole life? Or do you realize suddenly, what does it mean when we release a belief that we've held forever? It makes me think of that statement that if you love something, let it go. And if it was yours, it'll come back to you. And if it doesn't, it never was. There's this incredible fear when we're facing ourselves and we're getting ready to make a major mental or emotional shift. And that fear is the exact same fear about letting go of something you love, because this is yourself. You actually do love yourself as much as some people might think they don't. You actually do. And your desire to love yourself is insane. And so this fear that we walk into as we start changing ourselves, as we go, I want to be more than I am today. This fear of letting go of our past is the exact same fear we see when we let go of something that we love. And remember, most of this stuff, all of this stuff is not ours. It never was. That we grabbed onto it and are holding it and are using it to color our world, that doesn't mean it's ours. And so as soon as we make that mental, emotional shift that we go through, suddenly it goes and it never comes back because it was never yours. I think that I just didn't realize how intense the concept of kidney and self was until I went through this translation of what is it, the Tai Yi Shang Shui. I just didn't realize that it was more than us just defining ourselves. It was us. So, so when you're going through and you're working on yourself and, there's always times that you're going to come into fear, fear of, and it's the fear of letting go. But remember that you do love yourself. And so if you love something, let it go. If it was yours, it'll come back. And if it doesn't, it never was. I hope that kind of helps you as you're going through your own personal independent journey of self-discovery. I can tell you, I just found that whole verse just to be amazing. And I'm glad you stopped by. I'm glad you're sharing it with me. If you liked it, leave a comment. If you have some different ideas, leave a comment. It'd be great to hear from you guys. Okay. So thank you for stopping by. And until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.